CCB in Liana Lareau's lab. Going into programming.
Yes.
And we have pizza and plates now, so please.
And chocolates. Yes. Happy Valentine's. I made today's presentation Valentine's themed because I thought it would be cute. But yeah, as Sarah said, today I'm giving you guys like a presentation on object-oriented programming and how we can use that in our science and our research to produce code that is like easily implemented, I guess like more reusable, is more maintainable and just like user-friendly, right? And so I guess I wanted to start with my own journey with object-oriented programming, or OOP. Or like, I guess, what are my credentials? I don't have any. I don't have a degree in CS, and I'm certainly not a software engineer. I'm just another girl who just uses OOP and goes to Stack Overflow when something goes wrong. But yes, so that being said, I'm, by all means, like any means, an expert on this. It could take years to master OOP, but my goal for you for here today is to just give you guys the basic tools so that you guys can start coding in OOP if after the seminar, if that's what you want to do. But yeah, I learned OOP when I took my first Python class in college, and my professor did not accept any homework that was not written in OOP style. So it was very I would say it was a steep learning curve, but in hindsight, in the end, it was all worth it because I've only learned, or I first learned to program that way. I never did any other, I don't really do procedural, I guess, which is most what other people do, which is just organizing your code into functions. But yeah, but because a lot of libraries in Python, and Python itself is an OOP language, it really helped me learn the language better. And it also helped me pick up other languages that are OOP, like Java. So I would highly recommend OOP. But yeah, I guess at the end of the day, it's a matter of preference of how you design solutions to the problems that you're solving. So yes, so I guess just defining OOP. So what is OOP? OOP is it's a programming paradigm. It's a method of structuring your program so that the data and the functions that work together or are related are organized into a single unit called an object. I guess if you've never heard of OOP before, this just looks like a lot of word vomit. So hopefully when I actually do the demo, you guys will get a better sense of what objects and classes are. But yeah, so what are the benefits to OOP? And I feel like I've already mentioned this in my intro. So again, better code organization. I really like writing pipelines, OOP style, easier code maintenance. So, and the way sort of classes and objects and attributes and methods interact with each other really forces the programmer to write code that is modular and reusable and very general so that it can deal with very general types of objects, I guess. And this one, I also really like this last benefit that I put here, and there's more than what I've listed here, but the benefits of design. So I think because OOP style, it is more complex. It does really force you, the programmer, to really think about the design of your class and the structure. And so I actually think it runs more smoothly and there's less bugs just because you're really forced to go through that process of really thinking through how your code would work. And there are, again, so I think at the end of the day, I think it's a matter of preference. So there are also some downsides to it. Yes, so not all the time OP is the answer. It does take a lot of time and effort, and sometimes the simpler the better. If you're trying to solve a very simple problem, you definitely don't have to implement OOP. And these quotes are from like the Zen of Python book. And then the last one is like practicality beats purity, which is just like don't bend over backwards to solve a problem in a right way. Like if it works, right? If the stupid solution works, then it's not stupid. Yeah, so just moving on to some key definitions that I think are good to know. So you can start coding in OOP, and it will also make it easier for you later to debug if you see any of these error messages. So starting with what is a class? So a class is a blueprint for creating like an object, and you basically define all the object properties and all the functions that could modify the object within your class. What is an object? It is an instance of a class, and I guess I had an unfinished thought over there, but I'll try to remember what I was trying to say here. Objects are variables that I don't know. I'm not gonna. I'm sorry. So moving on, what is a method? A method is basically just a function, but it's a function that belongs to that class and is only accessible by an object of that class. And finally, what is an attribute? It is a data element or a property of an object. So basically, like any variable that you sort of assign within a class that you make it like a property of that object is called an attribute. So later when you're running this, you're gonna get like attribute error, method error, stuff like that. Yes, actually, I actually found it in my notes what I wanted to say about the object. An object is a self-contained entity that stores data and as well as techniques for manipulating. I guess I was just paraphrasing what I was already saying. And you could even think of them as subclasses of classes, which we'll get to later. But yeah, like some important things. Also, just for the record, I chose pastel colors in the presentation, but they look hideously like super bright on the wall, and there's no projector screen. This is just a wall. But yes, so this init, I've never had to say it out loud. This is usually the first thing you define in your class. So this is your constructor, and every time you create an object of the class, this is the block of code that runs. And then another important thing to know is this self. So it represents an instance of a class. It is the first parameter to all the methods belonging to that class. And by using self, so you do self dot, we can access attributes or methods belonging to an object of that class. All right, so now I guess it's time for the demo. You guys can follow along if you want to or not. You can use anything for this, like a Jupyter notebook, a regular text editor, a Python IDE. But I'm gonna show you basically like how to build a class or from scratch and implement it. So and I'm gonna be going back and forth, I guess, with this between this presentation and my trying to look for it. Yes, I haven't used an ID in a long time, but I downloaded one so I can do this demo. Okay. Okay, it's pretty good. Okay. Let's see if I can make that bigger. Okay, perfect. So the example I'm gonna do is creating a dog class and then creating objects of that class. So really we just start by saying class dog. Hold on. And then again, the first thing you do is create your constructor, which is your init. So this will be for basically almost all your classes, you will have this one. And I'll show you examples of classes that you don't have to use in it. So again, the first parameter is always self. And this, let's leave this blank for now, but I guess whenever I'm creating a dog object of my dog class, so maybe one thing that I would require is like a name to initialize it. So to make name an attribute of that object, I do self.name equals, and then maybe here, yeah, I'm going to make it a parameter. Yeah, okay. And that's it. You basically created your first class. And to implement this here, I will do create a main function over here. Oops, okay. Dog object. Okay, so let's create an instance of the dog class, and that would be my dog. And I'm just gonna call the dog class. And then again, your constructor requires one argument, which is the name. I'm gonna give it my cat's name. And then run main. Oh, actually, so you guys can see, I will do print. And then this is your object. Your object is in my underscore dog. Okay. So that's how, again, because you put self in front of the name variable, then it should access that. Or maybe it will, let me see. Because I use name. I'm very lazy when it comes to naming stuff. There. Hope that makes it clear how that works. So your parameter is assigned to an attribute of your object called name too. There. Cool. And then let's try to run this. There you go. Now this is super small, but here you go. I don't know how to make it bigger, but I hope you guys see it's right there. Yeah. But I'm gonna, just for fun, I'm gonna add another one called self.age. So now if I try to run this, it won't run because it's missing a parameter, but if you add this. Yeah. And then I'm gonna add like another method. So I'm just gonna do like print info. Again, the first parameter is self. And it doesn't have to have any other parameters if you don't want to. So I'm just gonna, if I call this method, I want it to print self.name too as name. And then print age. Self.age. Okay. I think that's one. So if I call that method with my object outside the class, it will do that over here. Yeah. But yeah, let me move, actually, let me also screenshot this. And then so I'll modify that later. But yeah, okay, well, I guess I showed you guys how to access the attributes and methods of your class using dot. So I'm just gonna skip that. And then the next is, okay, yeah, so this is also important, class inheritance. So a class can inherit all the attributes and methods of another class. which again makes it really easy to write a new class again, like like one of the pillars of OOP is class reusability. So it's if I were to create say a cat class, and I think for my cat class, I just also need the name and age. So everything that's already been defined in dog. So I'm just gonna do class. I'm gonna copy everything and then do, no, that's not quite right. Yes, I think I have to do that. Let me look at my cheat sheet. Class. Yes, I did it right. Yes. So this will basically just copy, or your cat class will inherit everything that is in your dog class. So now if I do the same thing, but now I'm gonna do my cat equals cat, and then I'm gonna use my friend's dog's name, Ollie. So switched. Say 9. And then I'll do the same thing here, my cat dot print info. Yeah, right here. Now you have Udon and Polly as 2 objects. This one is technically an object of the cat class, but the cat class is a child class of the dog class. But it doesn't have to be, so you can also just do that or add to your cat class. So I do def, maybe I can do like add breed self breed. And then I can do self dot breed equals breed. Yes. And then here I can access that that method using again dot add breed. I actually don't know that many cat breeds. Domestic short hair there. All right, ragdoll, they're cute. And then let's print it. I think I did this earlier and I was like orange, like when I was practicing through the code. Orange cat. Print my cat dot breed, right? Because that's the attribute name. And then let's run that. And again, yeah, perfect. Here you see ragdoll. Awesome. Yeah, that's all I have for class inheritance, but there's definitely a lot of things you can do. Like when I was researching like the stuff I would put for this skill set, like there were so many things that I saw that you could do with OOP that I haven't even implemented myself. So it's really super cool. Yes, you can easily import and I'll show you guys how I use this for my own work, but actually this was supposed to go in dog. I'm just gonna move it real quick. Oops. Yes, okay. So basically, this is your file where all your class is defined, and I called it dog.py. So here I'm going to create a new file, and it's called pets. So here I'm going to create like sort of like a pet shop, I guess. And in here, I'm just going to import my class. So import the dog class. Dog, which is the file. And it works because they're in the same directory. I think if it's in a different directory, you're gonna have to define the whole path. Import cat from also dog, because they're in the same file. Right. And here I'm going to, class pet shop. And I'm going to, so I'm gonna make this class expect other objects as its input. So I'm gonna just put class pet shop object. And then for the constructor, right? It's again self and this object, right? Like do something with this object. Now this object is passed on to this class. Up. And I mean, because I wrote dog and cat, I know what's in there. I'm going to just say that for this class, right, the self dot, so I'm just gonna put maybe like self dot ID equals object dot name, right? And I know this will work because I know the object I'm gonna give it has a name attribute. And then okay, let's just let's stick with that. I was gonna make it more complicated, but let's stick with that first, and then let's try it. Def main, and then I'm just gonna copy these two over there. Again, create the same thing. So now these are objects, and now I can pass these on to my pet shop class. So pet shop, pet, oh my God. And then I'm gonna pass the object my dog, and then oh, actually, hold on. Let me change this a little. Because okay, so basically here on the pet shop, I'm gonna create a dictionary called shop that will basically keep track of all the instances. So all the objects created for pet shop, right? And so I'm gonna have to create some sort of value. For now, I'm just gonna make their value their age, object that age. And then to access this, I guess that makes it okay, so yeah, so this makes it a class variable and not an object since it's defined for the entire class. You don't want to define this in your constructor because then it will just reinitialize every time you create an object. So you have to put it as a class variable. So you do shop pet shop dot shop. And then I'm gonna do my key as a self dot ID equals self dot val. Okay. And then here I'm gonna do entry 1. I'm gonna do entry 2 as my cat. Okay, and then let's try to print that. Yes. I don't know why I'm getting nervous. I feel like it won't work, but I think it will. I did a practice run. Import dog. Oh, okay. Whoops. Okay. It's from dog import dog. So it's the other way around. From dog import cat. Okay. Hopefully that works. Okay, perfect. Oh no, it did not print my because I did not call my main function. There we go. Object that name. Oh, because I called it name too. It's me. Debugging in real time. Yes, there you go. There's your dictionary. But I think even better than storing, I mean, you already have these attributes in your object, right? Like it's sort of redundant to store it twice. I like storing the object itself. Which, well, now when you print it, it will just say dog object and then cat object. But it's, you could, if I do, like I could access pretty much like print pet shop and then, like my object. And then dot page. I know the key. Yeah, cool. Yes. I think that's all I wanted to show you guys. Let me see what else is there. Oh yeah, I guess there's this concept of abstraction that's very popular in OOP. I wouldn't really call this abstraction, I guess. But it's this, let me see what the blurb I wrote for it here. It's basically this idea of like hiding the implementation of like the details of an implementation within like your function or your class. So here, like, right, instead of copying over like my entire dog and cat class, like, you know, if you imagine if the code was longer and more elaborate, like instead of like copying that over here, could hide them in their classes. And, you know, you don't need like, if I do like this one, print info, which if you can remember was a method of the dog class that I wrote. Oh, none. Oh, because the object. Oh wait, but no, that should work. Let me check. Print info. How did that not work? Ah, maybe because it's print, perhaps. Ah, there we go. Okay, yeah. So yeah, like, you know, like this method print and info is like nowhere in this file, but like, you know, like again, like if you're working on something that you want other people to use, like they don't need to know the line by line of your code, like they just need to know how to run it. But yeah. Yes, and again, going back to this idea of oh, Python is an OOP language, although it doesn't force programmers to do OOP. And a lot of cool libraries in Python are written in OOP style. So I think actually, like, you know, again, if you're writing something that you want to publish later and you write it OOP style, I think it sets you up really well to just publish it as a library like later. But I wanted to do an info this, and this is probably something that all of you might have already used at some point, but I think when I was first learning, again, when I was first learning Python, because I was learning it like OOP style, it really helped me like sort of like, I guess, like navigate or learn like how like libraries or some like libraries written in OOP work, like, right, like if you're doing like a PCA, like what you're doing here is you're creating an object. So scikit-learn is written OOP style, create an object of the PCA class, which is here. And it requires, well, one argument is its constructor, which is end components. And then dot fit is an attribute of that class, right? So this is your class and this is your object. Yeah. But yeah. Once I figured that out, like I would just like sort of, you know, you could look like under the hood and see like what other things your object has or what other things you can do with it. Yeah, which I just thought was really cool. Then what else do I have here? Oh yeah, this is just to prove to you guys that I'm not lying when I say almost everything in Python is an object. This is like literally if you Google it. And it gets super meta, yeah, like there like all the data structures in Python, so all your data types are instances of this meta class called type, and type is an instance of itself. Like, I don't know, it's just a little crazy. But yeah, and I think, yeah, I was gonna show you how I use OOP in my own research, but before that, I had a one extra tidbit that I wanted to show you guys, which is this is this class I wrote in college that I keep using over and over, like literally 8 years later. I'm just gonna copy this. Yeah, so put it here, but pretty much like so this is basically, it's just a command line argument parser. And it's maybe, yeah, so it's and I can send you guys this code later if you want to use it for yourself. But that's not really important. This is basically just like what prints later, which I'll show you, but I'm just sort of defining the program that I'm writing. I'm calling it command_pets. Help is true, and then this is kind of where you add I was supposed to erase this so I can like demonstrate. Basically like the options or the arguments that you're going to require from the command line. So again, because our dog class over here, which I just copied over, has a like it requires a name for the constructor, then you know the shorthand could be -n, and then the longhand is --name. And then I just store that, and then when people ask for help, I just print pet name, and then I'm gonna add another one for the age. So that one I'll do -a. The longhand would be --age, and then pet age would be the description. And here, and in the dog class, instead of this being like, if you can remember earlier, this was name, age, right? So here I'm passing it this object instead, like an object of the command line class. So I'm just gonna call it what I had here, which is my command. And then you get to access like these arguments using like that object dot args dot attribute name. Okay. And maybe I should change. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. That works. That works. And so here, when I'm running it on my terminal, right? So again, I'm gonna just Python command pets, and you can do and age 3. Oh, wait. Okay. It won't do anything because I'm not doing anything after making the objects. So let me do def main I forgot. Let me copy again. Okay, right here. Okay. Yes. But I have to do that. Yes, so in your main function, you create an object of your command line class. And then you create your dog object, and then you pass that on. You pass your command line. You create a dog object by passing your object. do dog. Yeah, and then I'm just calling again like an attribute which prints all the info for this object. And so let me just save that. And so I really like this because then again when I'm where did my right here. So now when I'm calling this, I think that should do it. It should print oh my god. Just didn't call it there. Okay, so now when I run that, same thing. And I really like it because when you're writing this and say you want like your lab mate needs to borrow your code, needs to run it for their own thing, but you know, maybe they don't really know Python, but have run a couple command line things, you can just give them this, and then if they don't know how to run it, they can just do -- help. Like it looks so legit, like it's publication worthy. Yeah, I think it's cool. Like you guys can use this if you guys want to. But I think it's a really cool of writing programs for other people. But yeah, that's pretty much like the whole demo. And I think the last part was me showing you guys like how I use it on my own research. I mean, like I practice what I preach, you know. I'm not here lecturing you guys about OOP and then not doing OOP myself. So let me just, screen is too cluttered. I'm not gonna be running analysis, like I'll just show you guys like my Jupyter notebook. But so pretty much I've wrote this pipeline that I do basically like my main analysis on. It's about like 500 lines of code, which is like fine, but I also don't want to like I don't want to copy it over and over to the same notebook, and when I update like say like this library got the Keras thing like got updated. Like it used to be you can just like from Keras import load model, and it didn't work like a couple months ago, and I just changed this one line and then it updated it for everything, all the files that we're using that I was importing that class to. And so here, so I do a bunch of these analyses. So this is one of them, which is like I'm basically like creating base edits with different editing ranges. So this is like 4 to 9. I think this was like 3 to 8. Like it's just positions in the sequence that I'm editing. And because I do so many iterations of this, basically like the same analysis, I wrote it OOP style, and now you can run the entire pipeline basically in just like 5 lines of code. And so what I'm doing here is basically like each set of analysis is an object of my splicing editor class. So every time I do analysis, I just create a new object, and then that object will hold all the results for that particular type of analysis, which I think is really handy. Like instead of me having like 6 separate notebooks for all these analyses, now they're just all in one notebook and they're neatly separated into whatever object name I gave it. Yeah, so I just think it's super neat. And I think that's all I have for you guys really today. And if you want a copy of the code and the slides, I'll be happy to send them if you send me a link. I mean, send me an email. But yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll send you. Yeah, but I was planning I would like do a screenshot every time and then put it here, and that didn't happen. But I'll take the screenshots later and then send them to you. But yeah. Cool. Just stop sharing, I guess.
And if there's any questions from the group in the room, just repeat them for the, for the Zoom, and I guess, yeah, answer them. I don't know if there's any questions right now.
I don't think so, right? Oh yeah, there's one question. How I use it?
Could you repeat the question?
Oh, like someone is asking if I could show how I use my Jupyter notebook. Yeah, so oops, I'm not screen sharing anymore. I mean it won't run right now because I loaded it earlier and it's not connected anymore, but this is not really running on my local computer, it's running on my lab's compute server. But pretty much what I did here, again, this thing that I'm importing here is just this big block of code that I wrote and I imported to the server. So instead of putting that all there, I import the class. And this is the class name that I named it. These are just other variables, but like if you could look like this particular type of analysis, it's I'm doing like kind of like simulated like base editing. And then again, yeah, this is editing from the 4th to the 8th position of the target. And these are just all attributes of the splicing score class. So I created this object and then I do base editing, check edits, score edits, and then get the bell scores, if that makes sense. Yeah. And if you look at my code, I don't know where it went. Is it this one? Yeah. That's basically just all the methods that I wrote for this object, like yeah, base editing, load the FASTA, yeah, it's super long. Yeah, check edit, stuff like that. Yeah. Does that make sense? Sorry. Did that answer your question? I'm not sure. Well, oh, ooh. Yeah, so we're trying to engineer these poison exons in a gene that we're interested in. In this case, we're interested in engineering poison exons in Huntington's disease so that you can get rid of the mutant copy. But it's such a big locus that we don't really know where the editing would work. So, you know, the best way to do it is test first in silico, which scores look good, right? Score them with AI, or like a deep learning model that is trained on a bunch of splicing data. So see where the editing could happen and then actually test those in cells. But yeah, in this case, like there's different types of editor. You could edit on the leading strand and you can edit on the complement strand. You could, again, like, and you have about like maybe 40, 30 around base editors right now, and maybe even more that people are working on, and they all have different editing capabilities. So your sort of your editing possibilities also change with each base editor that you have. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. I think I took basically like 6 like A to G base editors that I know of and tried to recreate the edits across the whole gene. Yeah, that's what I'm doing here. Yeah. Cool. Other questions? Good. Awesome. Thank you, guys.